We are thrilled to introduce Ashish Saxena, the driving force behind Home Optima Real Estate platform and leader of the Center of Excellence Realty Group. Ashish's rich background in both real estate and the corporate world, along with his academic credentials, makes him uniquely qualified to guide us through this complex market. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashish Saxena as he shares his valuable insights with us.
Thank you so much, Abtihal. Thank you so much. Appreciate the introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here. I'm seeing some of the results of the poll come in here. I will go through them in a few seconds, but I thank you all. I know there are some first-time home buyers here. We have some clients here who have done business with us before. We have some investors, and we have some industry experts as well. So I really appreciate you taking the time. We have a lot of uncertainty in the market. Obviously, 10 rate hikes and 25% correction in the market. Where are we going next? Our idea is to really put all the data and all the analysis in front of you and let you decide the timing on when, if and when you want to participate in the market. So this is the objective is, and obviously there's a lot of content here. We've broken down into 3 or 4 sections, and we'll stop at the end of each section. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A so that we can address them as we move forward. Let's look at the results here. Wow. So in terms of mortgage rates, we are sitting at 6.2% right now, which is prime -1. So 75% of the polls are showing that we will be at 5%. 5%. So that's about a 1.25, 1.25% reduction in the rate next year. 25% are saying that we'll be at 6%, and which is almost like a status quo. I mean, it's amazing to see the diversity in what people are thinking here. In terms of the pricing next year, 25% are saying it's going to stay the same, and 25% are saying it's going to actually go down by 10%, which is wow. And that's what we have seen in the past, in the last 1 year. If that was any measure, yes, of course, because we've seen a huge drop here. And we have 50% people who are saying that it's going to go up by about 10%. Okay, so there is a variation in the opinion, and I would love to know at the end of this webinar on what your thoughts are and where do you think you stand. Let me just go back to the slide deck here, and so let's move ahead. And I want to start with a couple of very important stories here. The first story is about somebody who is, come to the country in 2021. Their name is John. John is an immigrant from India. They are, him and his wife are both technology experts, professionals. They have very high household income, close to $300,000, $250,000 to $300,000. They have saved up $150,000 of down payment, primarily which some of this has come here. They came in 2021, so it's saved some here, some they brought from overseas. They have 2 amazing kids, 8 and 10-year-old, who are elementary school kids. And what John has done is when he came in 2021, rented a house. A townhouse is paying $3,500 a month of rent. That's a lot of rent for him, and he is not really willing to do that anymore. But he's very scared of the market. And why is that? One of the colleagues that John has at work actually bought a condo for $800,000 in the March 2022 timeframe, and that condo is now worth $600,000. $200,000 of equity lost in the condo. Very scary situation, and John doesn't know how to move forward. Let me tell you another story. This is about Nasreen. Nasreen did everything right. She bought the house in December 2022, sold her condo, and she bought this beautiful house, which is her house for till she lives, as they say. And she has, but the rates went up. The rate went up 1.5%, 2% since then. And she's paying so much mortgage that she called us and she said, I can't afford this anymore. I need to sell this house. I really cannot afford mortgages. I don't have any money left and I can't really pay this high mortgage. Now, Nasreen and John both are in a very unique situation. Nasreen, with the latest, we just listed her house for rent, not for sale. And she has creatively found a solution where she's going to live in the basement and rent the upstairs. After 20 years of home ownership, she's going to the basement. Canadians are doing a lot of sacrifices through these hard times to really keep their homes. And this is what this webinar is supposed to address. And how do we help John and Nasreen navigate? And based on our estimates, there are about 40 to 50,000 people sitting on the sidelines right now. And they can come to the market anytime whenever the sentiment is right. Let's dive into data. Let's talk numbers. Let's see what's going on here. Before we go a lot further, I just want to have a simple disclaimer here that this webinar is not intended to substitute a professional financial advice. Please talk to your financial advisor regarding this advice. We also take no responsibilities for decisions taken by attendees as a result of information provided in the webinar. Attendees are advised to conduct their own research and consult with professionals before making any property-related decisions. We just want to lay it out there. Please, we have done our due diligence and put the best information from the best sources, but we encourage you to follow up on that before you make any decisions. So let's get into the meat of it. What are we talking about here? If you have to forecast something, you need to know how the model is, how the system works. We need to understand that. So we can't understand that by looking at last 2 years, because that's not representative of the market as a whole. We are going to look at 25 years of data to see how this actually market works. We need to understand that. Once we know how it works, and once we know what the banks are forecasting for future for the next year and two in terms of interest rates, we should be able to then couple these two things together to get a good idea of where the market would end up in the next year and two. Now, we're not going to just stop at that. One of the things that we talked in our group is that we see consumers making really bad mistakes at times where they're losing tens of thousands of dollars by actually either by overpaying or underselling their houses. And there are a bunch of other things that are always there. We see them all the time. We want to caution you and warn you on those things. 3 main items that I will go through at the very end so that you know those. And next time, whenever you go to buy or sell your property, irrespective of what timing it might be, you are aware of these things and you're careful, and you do, whoever is helping you during that time, do the due diligence to before you make sign that offer. How does the market work? Let's talk about the key drivers. Just like anything, price depends on demand and supply. Same with housing, demand and supply. What are the different pieces of demand that are significant in the GTA market? Population is one, and we're going to go into deep of each of these factors. Population is one, which is existing population that we have, and the new immigration, and not just the immigration, but the people who are coming here to work, and people who are refugees, people who are students who are coming here. How about the demographics? What's the family look like? The new family that is coming to the country versus the existing family. What kind of housing do they need? Interest rates. Well, this is the biggest topic. We all talk about interest rates, and this seminar is basically primarily driven by interest rate hikes, right? So interest rates, what's going on with that? Where do we see this going? Are we at the peak of the cycle, or where are we? Economy, how's the economy performing today? How's it performing based on the last 10 years? What is that? How does it look like? What's the GDP growth? What's the projection of GDP? How are we seeing this whole employment picture looking? So that's the demand side of things. Supply side, obviously, developers. Real estate is not created by government. It's created by private firms, the developers who put their money to build houses and to make a profit. So this is the core business. So what is their sentiment? Are they canceling projects, or are they bringing new projects? You need to look at that. What's the labor market situation? Labor market in terms of construction workers. Do we have enough? How about the material costs to build these houses? What's going on with that? And how about the government policies? See the 3 levels of government constantly blaming each other for the mess that we are in right now. Constant blaming. And they talk about some solutions. It's all piecemeal. Are they really working together to really find a solution? Let's look at that. These are the main pictures. Now, I want to just look at the output of the GTA market. What has this market really given us so far? From 1996 to 2023, those are good 27 years. In those 27 years, the prices of a detached home has gone up from 200,000 to 1.2 million, 1,225,000. That's 512% increase in 27 years. Let's break this down because the interest rates has been all over the place during this time. Let's break this down. Now, if you look at the interest rate here, second, let me just minimize this. Now, look at this chart. So what is this chart showing? This chart, the vertical lines here are the interest rates, and the green line here is the median price for detached homes. And why do we take detached? I mean, is this presentation only for detached? Not really. It's for any asset type. Detached or condos or semis or townhouse, they behave in pretty similar fashion. Okay. Now, look at this chart. There are two environments here. This is a high interest rate environment. You can look at how high these bars are, the blue bars. They're hovering around 5% interest rate. Okay. And then you have the low interest rate environment where you have, they're around 2.5 or 3%. So 5% and 3%. Now, obviously, you're going to see here in the high interest rate environment, you see it here in this case where we went to the low interest rate environment here, where the interest rate almost went to 2% or less than that for 5-year fixed. You saw this market climb like crazy. It went so steep up. And when we saw the rates go up, the market started to go down. Obviously, inflation had to be tamed. But irrespective of what it is, if you're in the high rate environment or in the low rate environment, the market on average has performed and given you returns on 7%. 7% compounded. This is the return of the GTA market. Very high returns for real estate when you look at compare it to other countries. Okay, much higher. And this is leveraged money. 80% of this money is borrowed from the bank. So it's done quite well, actually. Done quite well. Now, one of the data points that I would like you to look at here is, this is very interesting, that here you have low rates and the prices are going up. Makes sense. Here you have high rates in this bar and the prices are going down. But look at this part. Here you have low rates. Actually, here you have high rate, but actually the prices are going up. Now, when did this happen? This is between December last year and now. The rates have actually gone up by about 150 basis points. But the market, actually, we are higher than bottom. We are 3 or 4% higher. This is showing the stubbornness of the GTA market. That, you know what, rate hikes can do damage to a certain point, but now the consumer is really resisting that. It's really resisting. They don't want to sell. They want to hold on to their houses. So this is a piece of data that you might want to pay attention to. Let's look at the demand. So where's the demand coming from? Let's look at the primary demand, and Canada is one of the highest growing countries in the OECDs, that has US and a bunch of other countries in there. I mean, look at the immigration. We were getting in 2016 to 2020, 21, we're getting 300,000 people a year, 300,000. And this year we are getting 500,000. Next year, 525,000, and the year after 550,000. These are just immigrants. If you look at the number of people who came to Canada this year is 1 million people, 1 million. Around 35 to 40% end up in the Greater Toronto. Huge increase in immigration. Demographics, we are seeing younger families come. So we have an aging population in Canada, but we are seeing younger families, and that's going to trigger the demand for freehold properties in single family homes, right? How about the economy? I mean, this is one of the things we're saying, my God, economy, you're going to a recession. You're going to a recession. Fair. This is the first quarter where we had a GDP drop. So we've dropped GDP to 1.1%, minus 1.1 is a decrease in GDP, and you needed 3 negative quarters to kind of have a recession, the definition. Now, where is this 1.1 coming? Minus 1.1. What has happened is new construction is down by 8.2%. Renovations are down 4.3%. Businesses are building lower inventory, the manufacturing companies. But check out the household spending, the consumer confidence. Household spending is only down by 0.1%. 0.1%. Go to any mall right now, go to a parking lot, try to find a parking spot in Square One. Go to your favorite restaurant and try to get a table there in the next half hour. It's hard. It's hard. So we don't see that slowdown, really. We don't see it. Now, what is the forecast for the future? Actually, the forecast for the future, we can go through it, but 2024 and 2025, the latest fiscal budget from the government of Canada says that the economy is going to grow from here. It's going to be 0.4% next year, and I think 2.5% the year after. Okay, unemployment rate, we are at 6.1% today. We'll be at 6, the average 10-year is 6.9% unemployment rate. Let's look at supply. What's going on with the supply? The big measure of housing supply is the housing starts, which is how many new houses are building in the month of October, last month or this month. Those housing starts seasonally adjusted is down by 24%. So builders are not the most excited people right now. They're not really looking forward to building something real quick. Construction workers, we need double the construction workers, double of what actually to build the supply that we need to take care of the housing crisis, double. And if you have done any renovation, or if you're looking for a plumber or looking for somebody to put a hardwood or change your carpet or make a kitchen, just try to hire somebody. They'll start their work and they'll get the business and they'll be gone because they're taking more jobs right at the same time and trying to do so many things because there's so much demand out there. Still there, still. In terms of cost, the material cost for housing is gone up 50% since 2022. So what actually is needed to kind of get to the numbers that we need to take care of housing for everybody, take care of the shortage? Actually, we built close to 400,000 houses in the last 10 years. And the next 10, we need 1 million, 2.5 times, 250% more than what we built. Huge number. Can we do it? I don't think so. So these are all showing us supply problems. So let's just now look at this whole picture here. So what's really changing here? The supply side is not.
Ashish, we have so many questions. We have 2 questions actually, Daniel. Shall we take it now?
Just give me a few seconds, Aptial. I'll finish this and we are Q&A on the supply and demand. Okay, just one last slide. Let me cover this. What we're saying is supply side is really not changing too much, too fast. It will take time. There's a lag. When the economy is great, everybody is buying houses. Developers are going to start that, and labor, we have shortage, material, we have government policies. Supply is not fixing in the next year or two. It takes time. Demand side, what is changing on the demand side? Population is we're going to have another 500,000 people. At least 200,000 people come to the GTA next year. It's happening every year. And the interest rates are nowhere but to go down. And I'll show you share data based on the top banks and what they're saying. So overall, what we're seeing is that for the next 2 years, demand is increasing and the supply is actually staying put or decreasing. We don't have enough capacity to really create supply. This creates the prices are going to go up, not go down. And we are going to look at numbers in the next few slides. Let's take some questions right now. Danielle, please tell me what people are asking.
Yeah, no problem. The first question that came in was actually asking about, would your 2024 forecast apply to condos as well, or just detached homes? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, brilliant question. I mean, I know that a lot of the first-time buyers in that condo category, and they are in there. The numbers do apply to both. But here is the lag. When the market picks up, you're going to see the market going up more on the freehold side, because anybody who is at that 800,000 to $1 million or 700,000 to $1 million will like to get a freehold property rather than paying a condo fee. This is what will happen. But slowly, as the market tightens and the price points go up in the freehold, in the townhouses, then you're going to see the next increase in prices will be for condo townhouses, which is, again, not freehold. There's a condo fee, but at least there's a house. It has some small land and it has 3 bedrooms and 2.5 washroom standard configuration. And as those get heated up, the next would be the apartments. So there is a lag of, I would say, 4 to 6 months from the freehold to the condo, but it applies to both of them.
Okay. Good. I was actually thinking, I was going to tell you the same thing, and there is going to be some kind of lag along with that. There was another very good question. The question was, many are worried about their jobs as the recession is coming? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's again a great question. If we have no people don't have jobs, then how are they going to buy homes and how can they sustain homes? It's a great question. If you look at the unemployment numbers right now, they are, like I said, we are better than the 10-year average. That's number two. But also look at the latest budget that came out. And the budget is saying this, that unemployment will go from 6.1 to 6.3 or 6.4% at the peak. Now that unemployment will come not because there'll be massive layoffs. That will come because the employers will slow down hiring. So the reason is slowing down hiring, not really massive layoffs. So it's a valid point, but the experts, and we are not experts in terms of employment numbers, the experts or even the Canadian report that has come out in the fall, the budget that shows growth next year of 0.4% and a 2.5% growth the year after. We don't see massive layoffs. It's not in that report at all.
I'll play devil's advocate. I'll ask you another question because I was looking at the news a couple of days ago. So there was some talk about some of the big banks laying some people off, and obviously because there's a lot less demand, a lot less mortgages coming in, and a lot less applications. So a lot of banks are getting rid of people and laying them off. So wouldn't that sort of be an indication of like where the things are going or where banks see things happening? Like, where do you see that playing?
100%. It's a brilliant question. Great question. I mean, I have actually a very close friend who works with one of the big banks. And I talked to them. I said, hey, listen, we are hearing some layoffs. He said, Ashish, it's 1%. Any organization is cutting down 1% of a bank having 100,000 people, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. This is what we're talking about. There's no massive, and especially look at the industry. The banks are investing very heavily right now in technology. You have massive amounts of data being collected. They're talking about artificial intelligence, AI stuff. There's so much. Everything is changing so fast. Banks are actually doubling down on this. Now, they are trying to, they will do some fine tuning based on the economic situation. And that always happens because ultimately it's the Bay Street and the Wall Street. They have to do their numbers, but it's not a part of a major, massive layoff. That's not what we read. Obviously, we are not experts, but this is what our understanding is of the market.
There's one more question that just came in. We're seeing, so how about outside of the GTA area, such as Kitchener, Waterloo, Hamilton, or London?
Yeah. It's phenomenal. Those areas, this is what has COVID really done. COVID has really reduced the value of commute, if you will. People don't need to commute anymore. Many of them are on hybrid models. Many of them are work from home. So what is happening is that why should I live in Mississauga if I don't have to and buy a townhouse for $1 million?
Yep.
Why can't I go to Welland, or I can go to Guelph or Cambridge or Waterloo and get the same townhouse for $700,000? I can save $1,500 to $2,000 in mortgage cost only. Why would I not do that? Schools are great there. If you have kids and all that, and some of these are kind of getting connected to the core using Go Transit. So it's we actually, just in the last week, we have had 3 clients who have sold their homes in Hamilton and have actually moved out to London area just because their houses were paid off and they want to retire. They want to get $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in the pocket, and they want to live the same lifestyle as they were living right now in Hamilton, and they've done that. So yes, a lot of people are kind of moving out for the value for money, unless they need to be in the city. They are very much open to that. We're seeing that trend.
I'll ask another question because what I was noticing, at least on my end with people that I've worked with, typically the people that I see moving out of the city right now is either young professionals who are able to do the commute, or they have more remote jobs, but there is still that fear of maybe I have to work 2 or 3 times a week in the office. Now, again, I don't see it coming fully back yet because it's one of those things where people are used to it now, especially IT jobs or like more cloud-based work. Is able to do it from home. So people who are moving on is typically that I've seen is in that below 30 demographic. I don't know what you've been seeing in your experience, but again, or maybe even downsizers. But aside from that, it's pretty much people who want to get more for their buck, right? Yeah,
we're seeing both, Daniel. We're seeing both. We're seeing the young folks who don't have to go to work 5 days a week, who are going 1 or 2 days a week, or even not that. They are buying outskirts. They are buying outside GTA. And then you have the downsizers. We just had two of our clients who are in their mid 60s or 70s who have homes are paid off and they're moving out because they don't want to pay. There's no value for them to live in the city because they want more quiet, So we're seeing both spectrum, actually, both. So that is really happening because of the COVID. Again, the work from home is now more of a norm than exception.
Yeah. One last question. We have a question here says, are you foreseeing interest cuts by June of next year, and by how much? And how would the market sentiment be by the mid of next year? What do you think?
Yeah, we're going to talk about them. And again, we are not economists here, and we are not mortgage experts. We are real estate people. But I will share some numbers with you that the experts are sharing in terms of where those. And so give me a couple of more slides. That's what is coming, actually. Let me go to that and I'll
answer. I was about to say.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move, guys. So where are we going from here? And okay, let's build this model together, the forecasting model. How do we do that? And we haven't seen anybody in the industry really come up with the tangible numbers of this is what we think based on data, but we're taking the courage to really put it out together for you. So what we have is, look at the interest rates between March 2022 and December 2022. We are talking from the peak to the bottom that we have seen not being violated just yet. We have still not touched the bottom second, like we've seen December 20, that was the bottom. So the interest rate changes from 0.25%, this Bank of Canada, okay, to 4.25, 4% change, increase in interest rate. And the prices changed by about $250,000 for a detached home. In a way, we are talking about for every 1% change in interest rate, where the rates were going up, the home price went down by 5%. 1% interest rate, 5% home price, roughly. This is not a global phenomenon that you can extrapolate all the time, but this has happened in the very recent past. We can use this kind of to understand the behavior. Now, let's look at the forecast. So TD Scotia CIBC, actually Benjamin Tal, the CIBC Deputy Chief Economist, just came last week, and he reiterated what is being laid out here. So they all think that we are going to go from 5% to about 3.5%, 150 basis point drop in the next year. Now, when? Let's talk. We'll dig deep into when exactly, because there's a window of time that we feel like is a very important window of time, and you don't want to miss that. I'm going to cover that a little later. In 2025, we are going down another 1.25%, another 1.25%. So now, based on what we looked at here, this is data from our market, very recent, and the prediction. Can we forecast something? I think we can. And we will, after this slide, also validate this forecast just to make sure that there are other pieces of information that are correlating with this, that are validating this, right? So what is going on? A townhouse that is a $965,000 today in the GTA market, by the end of December 2024, would be $1,040,000, about 7.5% increase in price. By December 2025, when the rates are down again by 1.25%, that townhouse would cost about $1.1 million. Net in the next 2 years for that $965,000 asset investment, we are seeing that it's going to go up by about $140,000 or about 13%.
Now you're not factoring in the actual demand itself, just the pure change from what the interest rates are going to do.
This is pure change. We are not counting the 200,000 more people coming here. Yep, not counting that. We're not counting the 500,000 or 400,000 people who are workers and students and temporary workers, worker visa people coming. We're not looking into that. I'm just thinking everything is static, just interest rate factor, right? Just interest rate factor. So look, let's validate this. It's very important because people can say, you know what? Yeah, it's you got some formula there, but show me other ways to verify this formula. Let's verify it. It's not hard. So we have this green line, which is the median price of detached homes in the GTA, right? We have this green line, and now we put a best fit math line basically that's going to run through it. It's called a trend line. This is what the market roughly behaves, plus or minus, it depends. Now, look at here. We were so far away from this trend line, so far away. This is probably 25% higher than the trend line. So when things are bought at this point, we are so far away from where the system operates that there's most likely it was going to go down because it was like too much. It didn't have the underpinnings. And we saw 1.8% 5-year fixed rates. This is what happened in the COVID when the whole world was, we were in turmoil. We didn't know what this new normal would look like. This is what happened. But here you have let me just minimize this here. Okay, so we have the 20-year trend line. This is the market peak we had. This is where we are today. This is where we are today, today's market. Now, we have already fallen about 20%, and we have a very small gap. And in the latest report, we are down another 2%. That is not in that green line yet. We haven't incorporated that. So if you put that 2%, the gap between where the trend line is and where we are today is probably 3%. 3%. That's margin of error. Almost nothing. I mean, not going too far, we have in the May timeframe, just this May, when the 5-year fixed went down to 4.5% from what we have about 5.5%, 6%, 1% change. And people thought, oh, the interest rate hikes are over. What happened to the market? The market went up 10 percentage points, 10%. Okay, in a very short time. So it's a very sensitive market. And what we're talking about, 2-3% is really margin of error here. Let's look at another way to validate. One validation is not enough. We'll look at one more. Patterns. I don't know who has looked at this. We looked at this pattern. We figured it out. Said, oh my God, this is pretty cool. Nobody noticed this yet. Think about this, guys. What is going on? 2017. I don't know how many of you were in the market in 2017. I would assume 50%. 2017. What happened in 2017? Foreign buyer tax was introduced. Correct? Remember? Yeah. Second, anybody knows? What else? The new mortgage rules were where we were going to qualify based on the bank rate plus 2%. So that if the rate goes up crazy, then we can still manage to pay that mortgage. What happened in 2017? The market went down. You can see here, went down like steep fall, just like we saw, hit a bottom here. See the bottom? Went up how much? 10%. 10%. How long? In 2 months. Then what happened here? It came down again, went up, came down again, did not go and touch the bottom again, just stayed a little bit above the bottom, little bit, and then moved up and did not look back. Did not look back. Okay. It almost came retesting the bottom. You want to look at what is happening now? Let's look at that. Okay. So this is deja vu. Okay. What is going on here? Look at the market bottom here. We are going down from $1.6 million of detached homes in February 2022. We fell to 1.2 million and we hit the market bottom, less than 1.2 in December last year. Guess what happened? We have seen the 10% go up in May because people thought the interest rate hikes are over. And we are retesting the bottom. Does that give you any answers? For me, the answer is everything is indicating that. And again, nobody can time the next month or 2 or 3 or 4. Largely, you are in a safe place to get in. Okay. And all full disclosure, I invested in something 2 weeks ago. I closed it. I mean, it's just makes sense. At least based on this data, I feel comfortable doing it.
So you are talking about data and graph. So there is a trend I want you to clarify this point, Ashish. Trend that all the buyers are buying at the same time. When the market is at the peak, everyone is going to buy and then to stop at the same time. While a sector, only a specific sector, doing the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the investors actually?
Mm-hmm.
They are buying when people stop, and they are not buying at all when everyone is going to. Why this trend is there?
That's human psychology, Tihal. That's a human psychology. We all know this. And you will see in the future also. There's other slides that it will demystify. Actually, there are some real estate things that people think are correct, but they are incorrect. Actually, we'll go through that. But this is human psychology. We follow others. We follow others. When our friends are buying, we buy. When they're selling, we're scared. We sell. Right? This is how it is.
Investors are not doing that.
Investors are not, well, because they have less emotions.
Yeah.
Their emotions are less. They are more numbers people. They have been through this before.
Yeah.
They've gone through various market cycles. And don't forget Warren Buffett. Don't forget. What did he say? He said, when everybody is scared, I buy. When everybody buy, I run away.
Yes.
Is that true?
Exactly.
Right. This is where money is made, is by taking risks. Yeah. But it's a very calculated risk. If you're down by 25% from the peak and you're close to the trend line and you're seeing patterns that it's going to repeat itself, listen, unless you have to sell in 2 years, if you have to sell in 2 years, then please don't buy real estate. But if you're going to keep it for 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, buy real estate. It's a great time. You know, this is based on data. I'm not my pie in the sky hypothesis. Data is showing that. Let's talk about risks. It's very important. Very important. So I will, after this webinar, I'll send you an email with some links, and that will have the other side of the equation. So CBC just had in the front burner, they had a podcast, and they interviewed some big shot mortgage agent. They do a lot of mortgages and they have good visibility. And based on that, basically in the next 24 months, 45% of all Canadian mortgages are up for renewal. 45%, 2 years. Big, almost 1 in 2, right? One of the other things that he talked about was when it comes to holding on to their homes, Canadians are very resourceful, very resourceful. And the examples are, most Canadians have significant equity in their houses. We know this. If they bought anything before 2020, they have good equity in the house. The only people who bought at the peak in February 2022 are actually underwater, are in trouble. Most people do. So when it comes to renewal, so right now, let's say you're paying 2.5% interest rate. Oh, your mortgage is getting renewed next month. Now it's going to be 6%. Wow, 2.5% to 6% in terms of payment. That's maybe 50, 60% more payment than what you're doing today. What people are doing is they know it's a short-term phenomenon. Obviously, rates are never going to be 2%. There, we think it's going to be hovering around 3 to 4% in long term. That's what you should use for planning. Again, this is what experts are telling. But what that homeowner is doing is they are refinancing. They are actually renewing their mortgage and taking their amortization from 15 years. They had 15 years more left to pay off their mortgage. They are increasing that to 20 years or 25 years or 30 years to basically reduce the payment in short term. Okay, people are renting basements, people are renting room. Like this client of ours, she's moving to the basement after being a homeowner for 20 years, moving to the basement with her husband and renting the house upstairs for $4,000 because basement she was only getting $1,500. She will keep her home, and we said, keep your home. Please don't sell it. If you sell it, you're gonna never be able to buy this home again. So people are very resistant. The other thing that this podcast was saying, that imagine you're getting a rate of 6% today. Now, next fall, you may be getting a 4% rate. That'd be pretty nice, actually. Talk to anybody, say, hey, listen, you want to buy a home? I'll give you 4% interest rate. What do you think? They say, oh my God, no problem at all. No problem. I take it any day. I'll take 4.5. Basically, the rates are, overall, the picture they're painting is not a crazy, scary picture. It's going to be painful. It's not going to be not painful. It's going to be painful for the consumer, just like our client is going through. It's going to be hard, but it's not forever. That change is coming, not into not too long. Any other questions? Here we have.
We have a ton of questions. Okay, I'll hit off the first one. So you think the best time to buy in the GTA will be January, February next year, maybe even March, when everyone else is still thinking about it?
Yeah, let's have the data prove it. I will go to the next slide. I'm going to cover that. And that's the most asked question is, when should I buy? And what does the data tell? And we'll show you something very cool that will kind of paint a picture, because I want to, because it's short term, so short term, the next 3 months, we're going to look at the inventory today also. Let's look at the inventory. Let's look at the souls, and let's figure that out. It's not just a math question of interest rates, but it's also a question of inventory. What do we have today? Is it too much? And how long will it take to flush out of the system so that the prices kind of start going up again? So we'll look at it in the next slide.
Got it. Another one is very similar to that, so we'll just go to the next one. How are we supposed to know the fair market value ourselves as a buyer or seller? Who's responsible for this?
Okay, fair market value. Great question, guys. You're jumping ahead, but let's cover fair market value. I want to explain fair market value to many people because they may not know that, but I want to explain that to them. It's one thing you can take from this webinar. It doesn't matter when you buy tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now. One thing you take from this webinar is please understand the concept of fair market value. Super important. And I don't think it's been done properly today in the marketplace. It's not. And you as a consumer should be knowing about that and should be empowered. I will show you the concept of it, and then we can go deep into it. Okay, anything else?
And then the last question is, based on your knowledge, what are homeowners doing to keep mortgage payments low when forced to renew with higher rates?
So we talked about some of those things. So they're changing the amortization time period from, let's say they have 20 years or 25 years left or 15 years left, they're going back to 30 years because they have enough equity in the homes. Many people are renting their rooms, basements. Some are doing line of credit to basically take some money out so that they can pay higher payments for a short term. There's a bunch of things. And there are people who are selling. There's no question about it. There are people who are selling, and they are selling here in the core, and they are moving out. They're moving out. They can buy a good place and same size, but they save some money, and then they can kind of reduce their payments. So people are doing a bunch of things, but it's varying all over the place. But they're finding some creative solutions to that.
Yeah, I mean, we just had that same situation in May. We had that lady in Brampton. She, sold her place for 1.2. Originally from the builder did not touch it in 27 years, and she just went to Oakville. She wanted to be close to the family and downsize, so she has a good, $600,000-700,000,
yeah,
on her account to retire. So, not everybody is in that situation, but I think it was over half of homeowners have long-term mortgages for the past 20-30 years, or they're almost paid off. So it's a very big chunk of people in that situation.
100%. And the mortgage renewal of the next 2 years, it's a half of the Canadians. And if by the end of next year, if we are going from 6%, 6.25 to 4.25, that's a huge breather for people. Huge. I think there's 6 months of pain ahead, 6 months, and then it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Okay, so let's move on with the timing question. So let me, this is what we have. Most commonly asked question, what's the timing? And let's look at the like I said, inventory data to kind of point out. Here is the latest Toronto Real Estate Board report. It's data from that. We created this chart using it. So let me explain this to you, what this is. So the blue is the total inventory in the system, total houses that are for sale. This is for detached. Again, we are focusing on detached, and it's similar for all categories. So total houses for sale is the blue. The green is the new listings coming to the market, and the red is what is selling. Okay, now check this place out where the blue was at the top, and we're talking about September 22nd to 22 to November 23. So that's about 15 months of data right there. The highest point we were at for inventory was in September this year, just a few months ago, September, highest inventory. And what happened and what has happened since then? People have really, look at the new listings have dropped pre-fall, just like prices. People are not listing anymore. They are listing unless you really have to sell for some life event or something like that, people are very reluctant to list. So this inventory after this peak, because what happened was in May, as the prices got better, people started listing. And then they increased the interest rates. People thought the rates hikes are over. They increased the interest rate. So by the time those new listings stopped coming to the market, it built a bunch of inventory and the sales went down. So now this is the peak we have here. And guess what is happening? It's going down, right? And look at the sales, pretty flat. There's a bit of seasonality in here too, but we anticipate the actual inventory to actually keep going down for the next 2-3 months, and the sales to be quite flat. the gap between demand and supply is going to reduce, and that's going to start firming up the price. And that time frame is 3 months, 3 to 6 months. That's what we feel. One other thing, another question: when should you, in terms of timing? Let's say you bought something next year. Just saying. So you have two scenarios. You bought something next year, January. Now, look at the average rate you're going to pay. Obviously, you're not going to go for 5-year fixed, because why do you want to pay 5% or 5.5% for the rest 5 years? Doesn't make sense. You're going to go for variable rate. So take the variable rate. The start when you got it for 6.25%. That's January 2024. Very high rates, very high rate. And by the end of the year, you end up at 4.75. So if you, and then the next year, the rate went down to 4.25. And 2026, 4%, 3.5%, 3.5%, and we just take it 3.5, no below that. Now, average rate in that case is 4.15%. Now, if you're buying in 2025 Jan, you start with 4.25. Already you're not dealing with the 6.25, which is a short-term 6-month rate. You're dealing, starting here, your rate is better by about 40 basis points. So you're getting 3.75 average as 4.15. Now, what does this do to your pocket? Super important. And this is one of the big myths in real estate. People think, you know what? The higher rate, the higher the mortgage. Not true. Why? Look at the mortgage that you're paying per month. You are going to pay $3,800 if you buy early next year. If you buy in 2025 with the lower rates of 3.75, much lower, 40 basis point lower than this, you are going to pay 4,000 plus mortgage. Why is that? Because what happened was when the rates went down, the prices went up, right? So the prices went up by 7.5% to $75,000, by $75,000. So you're paying mortgage on a higher amount, even though you have low rate, your net mortgage is more. Not just that. So in 10 years, so let's say in 5 years, how much mortgage payments you're going to pay in both scenarios? Actually, if you buy early next year, you're going to pay $10,000 less in interest cost. Number one. Number two, at the end of 5 years, your outstanding mortgage would be much lower in when you're buying next year. Third thing, people don't realize this. Third things, you are carrying this extra $75,000 of mortgage for the next 20 years to paying interest on that, because you have principal amount is much higher, and you're going to pay about $30,000 in interest cost on that. Net $112,000 difference if you're going to buy next year versus the year after. Okay, this is given based on the fact that the rates go down, which almost every economist, every major banks are saying. And number two is that we are taking that for every 1% rate drop, the home prices go up by 5%. Actually, in May, they went up by 10% for that 1%. So we are being conservative here. Okay. So this is the timing of the market. Any questions on this?
Nothing yet, but if you give it maybe 30 seconds, let's see if anything comes in.
Yeah, happy to, and we can take questions at the end as well. So let's keep moving on. It's Sunday evening. I know people have things to do here. I don't want to take too much of the time. Costly mistakes. Let's talk about costly mistakes. Please take this. Remember this, okay? Fair market value. What is fair market value? Fair market value is what is that property XYZ is worth in today's market. What is it worth in today's market? And that's not something that can be easily calculated. It needs work. It needs data. It needs analytical skills. It needs for us to buy some reports from MPAC on exact square footage of the house that we are looking at and the comparable properties, whatever was sold in that area, similar type of homes, right? We need to get into very due diligence to go into almost, if a house we are using as a comparable to find what this particular house is worth, and we find 2 other homes that were sold on the same street or in that neighborhood, exactly similar, supposedly exactly similar, you get there, you look at those houses and deeply analyze one, you'll find that the lot size of one is more than another, the land area. Second, you'll find is one house that you are trying to figure out what this is worth is actually 1,900 square feet. And the one that you're using as a comparable actually it was 2,100 square feet. The 200 square feet may not be very easily understandable for you because you never saw that house, right? Which was 1,900 square feet, which was 2,100 square feet. You never saw that house. How about the inside? How about the kitchen? How about the upgrades? How about the washroom? How about the flooring? How about the condition of the house? So fair market value, whoever is representing you has to go into due diligence of finding out the comparable properties and go painstakingly to everything: the basement, the washroom, the lot size, the constructed area of the house. Have to go into very detail to find the fair market value. When you find two comparable properties and you do all the due diligence and then you find the average, that's the true market value of the subject property. Now, why is it important? If you're a buyer, you never want to overpay. Why should I pay for a 1,900 square feet house the same price as something that was sold, which is a 2,100 square feet? Because right there, there's a $200 per square feet times 200. That's $40,000 right there. Needs to be looked at, guys, if you're buying. Also, if you're selling, you need to know exactly what your property is worth. And I know it's not an exact science, but due diligence has to be there. Please demand that. Super important. We've actually built tools to do this. We've spent $1 million to just build these tools because they are nowhere. We need to get through this. We have to never overpay. But I mean, sometimes our clients will make an exception saying, hey, listen, I love this place. I want this place because my mom lives on the same street and I really want it. I'm ready to pay 2% extra for it. And that's okay. That's your decision. But you need to know the fair market. So please understand this concept. Demand. If somebody's asking, put an offer for $1 million, please tell me, why should I put an offer? What's the square footage of this house that you are putting an offer? What's the square footage of the comparable properties? How was the inside? How was this lot? Everything. Ask them that question. Very important.
Can I tell us a very short story about this market value and the overpay and seller and buyer? So the importance of the market value. What happened 2 months ago, we put an offer actually for one of our clients on a property. We have done, of course, did this market value with our tools, all of these, and we came up with 700K is the fair market value. We put the offer and it been rejected. They rejected the offer. They said not less than 750. Why 750? The market value is 700. The listing agent, he said 750. Okay, it didn't sell. Till today, they canceled. They relisted it for 690. 690. Why? Because the listing agent, he didn't do his due diligence and the homework to know the market value, fair market value. We did that. So no overpay for sure, no, because it's a waste for everything. And on the other hand, the seller, how much they lost 2 months of mortgage they are paying. They lost a good offer that is within the market value 2 months ago. Now we are like slightly less. That's why they put it. They are hoping to get this 690 nowadays. So they lost everything. Why? Because they didn't do the study and the fair market value. Yeah. This is the difference or the 100%. Importance of this part.
Very true, Abtel. And don't forget one more factor. The market is thinking there's something wrong with that house, that condo.
Of course.
Why did it not sell for two months? Maybe there is some problem there. Maybe there is some issues that we don't know, that they are not telling us. You're basically making the property stale in the market. So anyway, pricing is very important and due diligence is super important. You need to demand very detailed calculation. Okay. The second thing is, again, details. We're going on the details. We want to, go professionalize this industry by, if you are buying a home and if you're seeing properties, please make sure that your agent or yourself, I would rather have your agent because you're paying them. Your agent takes notes of every house that they show you on, and your feedback on what you like, what you don't like about it. And that's noted somewhere. They should also ask you on a scale of 0 to 10, what do you think this house is for you? With 10 being the perfect house and 0 being you totally have no interest in it. Take that and forget the price, just the product, right? Have them take the note. And what this will do is it will keep you aware of the market, because when that property is sold or terminated or relisted or something happens to the property, oh my God, we thought that this was going to sell for $1 million. It actually sold for 940. That house that we are thinking it's close to $1 million. Now you learned something, right? Please make sure, even when you're listing, please make sure that there are things that keep track of that listing, to make sure whatever the competition is changing around that listing, new listings coming to the market, a competitive listing, there was a competition in that same market, sold for more than what you thought. So you should actually change the price, the fair market that you expect. It is a dynamic thing. It has to be really closely monitored, either you're buying or selling. Super important. And again, we have built tools for this. It's such a to educate our buyers and sellers and give them the fresh, right information so that they can make the right decision for themselves is paramount. Super important, right? So please demand this. And the third last thing that I would say is this: we see a lot in the buy and sell situation where people are like, oh, you know what? I did not know that I need another $30,000 for closing. I have no money left. Why? Because the calculations were never done. What are the possible prices that your house can sell? What is the real estate fees there? What is your mortgage? What are you going to get in the pocket? Do you have any debt you want to pay? Do you have any additional savings? What comes out of the sale at the end? Now you're buying something. What would the buy picture for? Who's paying the land transfer tax for the buy side? Is that coming from the existing house that I sold and the equity from there? Or this is from the saving? All these things have to be put together beforehand to create a plan. So there are no surprises. There's no last minute headaches and anxiety for, oh my God, I have a closing coming and I don't have $30,000. We never thought about this, right? Please. So ask your professional people, whoever are helping you, to do this for you. It's important. Any questions, Daniel, on the mistakes?
No questions that came in yet.
Okay. Okay, good. So we can obviously, we have 3 or 4 minutes. Let me just quickly go through, just as we do this. Who are we? Quick, and I will, at the very end, I'll give you one more piece of information that's very relevant to you, which is we are a Center of Excellence Realty Group. We are powered by Home Optima. This is our software platform that has different tools that are built. And our mission is to create happiness and wealth through real estate by hyper-personal service based on exact what you need, your family needs, decision tools, and our market expertise. This is our goal. This is our mission statement. We are 10 people. We are partners. We work together with 10 people with same value system and similar way of working, and we deliver to our clients. We have various tools in the market. We have one of the top mobile apps out there. We were there before any other competition, and our focus was to really build the decision tool. So we have an app, about 50 to 100,000 people using it, 700 plus reviews. It's got everything in there. We got tools, Matchmaker, which finds up listings for you based on your criteria, either school, go station, X, Y, Z, whatever the criteria may be. 25 such things, parameters. You can ask for anything that's relevant to you. Home Search Optimizer, that's the tool that keeps track of all the details of showings on what you said, the feedback, so that you learn from it and we get the best price for the best house. And the third is offer planning tool. So we put an offer based on due diligence and fair market value. We have some very cool tools for homeowners. One is Home Value Tracker. This is one of the most popular tools we have. So people can track the value of their home on a daily basis. The home's value changes as the market changes, and it's accessible to you all the time. For people who are really seriously think of selling or upgrading, we have what we call is a home valuation tool. It's a full CMA, comparative market analysis, which finds the fair market value of your property. We look at your existing property. We see how we can market it. We give you recommendations. We do those calculations, buy and sell, so that there are no surprises. So we have these tools. And this is me. Been in real estate for 10 years. I was in corporate. I'm an engineer, systems engineer. I've done my MBA. I love real estate. I'm passionate about real estate. I want to elevate the level of real estate that we have. We service the customers in a very professional way. This is where I would like this industry to go to really make it better for you, the customer, the end consumer. And you can always, call me or one of my team members to ask any questions about real estate at any point in time, irrespective of when. And yeah, so we just will finally summarize this. And after that, if there's any question, I'll take. Interest rates are going down based on anybody that you can hear out there. These are professionals. I'm not talking about your friends or other people, but this is the experts. These are CIBC, RBC. These are top economists who are working there. They're going to go down by, in 2024, 1 to 1.5%. Home prices are going up 5 to 10% next year. It will be more difficult to buy the home of your choice in Q3, Q4 2024 because the market would have picked up. And once you have a lineup of buyers, it's going to go crazy. It's going to be very hard to really get that right property at the right price. Painful time for consumers with high mortgages, which will persist for most of 2024. It is there because COVID was a totally unexpected event, and a lot of things was done by the government. They pumped so much money in the system, but now we are paying for it. We are paying for it. So that pain will be there, but hopefully after 2024, we should see that go away. I really thank you for your time. And Daniel, if there are any last minute questions, let's go through them quickly.
Nothing as of now, but if you want to wait maybe 2 minutes, have anything come in, we can address it.
Sure. Let's give it a few seconds and see if there is any closing questions that people might have.
The one thing I was going to talk about, because a lot of the questions that came in were like, talking about, that exact question, when is the, right time to go into it, when, again,
Yeah.
It's time things, but I know one of the great tools we use is the market change predictor. It gives a little information on like where the market is going with the leading and lagging indicators. And of course, it's not, written in stone, but at least it gives you a good idea, maybe a month or two in advance where things are heading.
100%. I didn't include it here. There's enough data in this presentation. I didn't want to overwhelm people with that data, but we have a very cool tool, guys. It's called the market direction tool, where we see the market changes. Okay, when we see the market will change directions, right? And we are keeping an eye on that on a daily basis. So we know when we'll be the first one to know, crunching data from tens of thousands of sales to really tell you exactly where it's crisscrossing and where the market is changing from going down to kind of going up. And many of our clients have actually, a couple of years, last year, many of our clients have taken advantage of that. Just before as it picks up, they jump into the market, or just before as it's going down steep, they sell and get out of the market. So we have a pretty solid tool there that we are keeping a close eye on.
Because I know you brought it up last year that you had a situation where somebody was, thinking to do it, to sell their home. And you're like, look, this is what the data is showing. Like you can see it's gonna start changing directions, and they're like, okay, let's go. And it really did, take off after that.
Yeah, Daniel, that's the best thing. I think it's the biggest win in real estate. If I have one biggest win in real estate, that is that. And the story is this, and that actually, thank God, we had one client that we helped in decision making that made them financially free for lifetime, really. And that was and I'll just give you a very quick story. They said they're going to go back to India because and I bought them this place 2 years ago for $1 million, and they were going to go back to India, and they are moving back. And they said, we'll sell next year for XYZ reasons. I said, if you want to go back to India and if you're going to sell, and we saw the market just crisscross, and we saw market going down like steep. 15 days ago, we saw that trend. I said, if I were you, I would just rent a house now for 1 year and just sell right now. And guess what? We sold that house for $1.8 million in the peak. 1.8. That house is worth 1.3 today in the market. 1.8. And they took the $800,000 from $1 million to 1.8, and they took that money and they went back to India and they bought a villa on the golf course for, I don't know, 8 to 10 crores, the local currency. All paid off. All paid off. That's the most amazing. I get this great feeling that we are able to help in that situation, advise them to go now and not wait. Not wait. Big numbers.
When is our next webinar, Ashish?
When is the next webinar? We want to do one every month, to be honest. We want to do one every month to update you on the market, on where it's going. So anybody who's here, please come back. You know, we're going to have probably something in like a mid-Jan, and come back, and then we're going to talk about this more. And if there's any changes in the market, we're going to talk about that.
And
So,
if there is any topic even they want to go through it, to know more information about it, they can send to you for sure.
100%, 100%. We are here to educate. We are here to educate and give you value and help you. And that's our mission, as you saw. And we are happy to do this once every month. And if you have very specific custom questions, you can always call one of us, and we are happy to answer. But we will do this, guys. We'll do this on an ongoing basis. I mean, we have a commitment to that.
A recommendation about the topics, even if they would like.
Of course. Yeah. Give us what you're a first time buyer, you're upgrading, you're downsizing, where do you want to live? Should you live in Oshawa? Should you live in Stony Creek? Should you live in Welland or London? You know, talk to us.
Two good questions came in. The first one is, can you just go back to the company team slide? I guess it's the one just before that. Yep, that's the one.
This one here?
With the information, you know, to contact. I think it's your slide, the one before the.
Okay, here. Okay, let me. Oops,
that one.
Sorry.
There you go. And then the other question was, based on your knowledge, what are homeowners doing to keep mortgage payments low? Okay, I think they already came in before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Re-amortizing. Yeah, most of them are re-amortizing.
Yep. Yeah, most have to re-amortize. It's not a choice, because I know a lot of people are getting some like long amortizers, like 60 years, even in some cases 40 years, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very rare. Not everybody gets that.
Very, very rare. Actually, mortgage payments are going up, not going down with time. That's unfortunate. I mean, we're seeing that. But listen, hang in there if you do. And some people are underwater. Their equity is negative in the house. I mean, they can't sell it. They have no choice but to pay the payments. If they can't pay the money, the banks are going to take over, and their credit is going to go down to a very bad number. So you don't want to do that. Protect yourself. Talk to your financial planner, whatever it is. I mean, hang in there. It's the toughest times that we have. And I think most people who got caught in the Feb 2020, January, I would say from Jan 2022 to March 2022, that group of people who came to the market, they bought at the highest price and they got the highest rates because they got variable rates. And that's the worst combination that has happened. And I really pray to God that the market moves in a direction, and the government and the policymakers move in a direction where their life becomes easier, because they have gone through a really bad pain to go through this, paying top dollars and paying top interest rates. I mean, those are really not the best combination for people to go through.
Not at all.
Okay. So excellent. If there are no other questions, we're going to stop now. And again, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Sunday evening. And I know holiday times are coming. So I wish you a happy holiday season and an amazing New Year 2024. May God bless you and bless your families. And we will see you again early next year in January. And we will announce those dates. And if you have any topics you're interested, please do send them to us so that we can prepare ourselves for the next one. Okay, signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.